Hello everybody, I'm Brian from Orchids by Brian, and I am so excited because today I am at Motes Orchids with my friend Bart, and we're going to check out this incredible nursery and their lab, which I am so excited about. These guys are the pioneers of Vanda orchid growing, and we're going to see some of the new plants that they're creating here at Motes and some of the incredible plants they have in bloom right now. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Bart to give us a tour of this amazing place. All right, so now we're walking in to Motes Orchids. Name one other place where you walk through a jungle to get to the nursery. This is so cool. I feel like I'm back in the Fakahatchee. Walking in. This is beautiful, oh my gosh. Look at this. Wow. This is so awesome. All of these beautiful blooms. And soon you'll be in a Vanda paradise. So neat.
Okay. Cool. This is our scenic burn pile. This is the bed of Monstera that I was telling you about.
Oh my gosh, look at this. That's amazing, Bart.
Yeah, and look, it's Monstera deliciosa. You see the fruit there?
Oh wow, that's
so you can actually
cool.
eat that fruit, but it's it's kind of a pesky fruit to eat because you have to wait for the husk, the scales to fall off, and they have like some. If you don't, they have this kind of like oxalic acid that is built up, and so it's not the greatest.
Wow.
But kind of cool.
That is super cool.
Not my favorite childhood fruit. That has to. Yes, I grew up here, as we discussed. I used to. These are Mysore raspberries, a raspberry that actually grows down here in, the tropic zones and semi-tropic, subtropic zones.
So cool. Now, Bart, I don't think there's many people that haven't heard of you guys.
Oh,
but
thank you.
When did Motes Orchids start? Can you give like a little background on the history of the company and the?
Well, I can give you actually something that not very many people know, which is that my grandfather was actually the first person in our family to grow orchids. Wow. And my father, like myself, grew up in like a little kind of hobby nursery, right? It wasn't a big commercial operation. It was like a backyard operation. And so my father was always interested in orchids, and he'll tell the story about how he, as a teenager, he imported what we call now quarter terretes, right, from like Mocara type things from Thailand, and he put an advertisement in the Miami Herald to sell them, and like he was like, okay, like this could be a business, and then he went to university. He actually got a PhD. He was a Fulbright lecturer, and at the University of Pristina in Kosovo. That's where he met my mother. He's British. And he convinced that poor lady to come back to the United States and be in the orchid business with him. And so that was in the late 1970s. And this property here, they bought soon after that, like 1978. And we've been here ever since. It's obviously grown a lot. We've been through a lot at this property. All these greenhouses came down during Hurricane Andrew. And they were mostly re-erected. Some of the steel had to be replaced, of course, but we made it through that. So yeah, it's that's the basic. That's the basic history of Motes Orchids. That's Vanda insignis. And it's what we believe is a very improved version of Vanda insignis through line breeding that Martin has done.
It's beautiful.
And it's one of my favorites. It's you know, it's got that incredible lip, right? So hybrids from that are some of my personal favorites, like Vanda Motes Banshee, which kind of miniaturizes it by crossing it with Vanda Lyovillii, and then Motes Spitfire, which takes James Craig Adamson, which is itself an Insignis hybrid, crosses it back to Insignis, so you get some hybrid vigor, but you get those big Insignis lips. And then of course Motes Multiverse, my absolute personal favorite.
That's beautiful. What a specimen.
Yeah, and that's cool. Yeah, there's actually multiple plants in there and over there as well. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And my father would be very cross with me if I didn't just clarify one thing. You said that we were the pioneers of orchid breeding, but you know, there's obviously incredible Thai breeders, you know, going back a century, incredible Hawaiian breeders. So Martin would always say that he's kind of in that, you know, pantheon of people. But what I will say is Martin wrote a series of articles in the AOS, which are available on our website, about branching out from using Vanda Sandriana as a parent. If you go in supermarkets, you'll see almost all of the Vandas there. If you do see a Vanda, it's going to be this like very, like, they kind of look like these guys, but you know, they're very kind of like erect, right? Erect leaves, kind of like, they look like they're all soldiers, because they are, right? They're like mass produced. They're placed in these plastic baskets, not for any kind of real botanical reason, but because that's how the sellers in mostly in Thailand grade them, right? Okay, it's a 4-inch basket, it's a 6-inch basket plant. They have different price points, right? So what Martin's so Vanda Sandriana has a lot of incredible advantages. It produces big, flat flowers, which people love. But unfortunately, it also produces plants which are typically less robust than plants hybridized with other species, and they're slower growing, they don't bloom as often, and they're very susceptible to root rot and stuff like that, because they only throw roots basically at their base, right? Whereas you'll see with some of these other, let's see, like this guy here, right? You'll see that he's kind of wild and free, right? He's like throwing, and he's got a spike too, yay. He's gonna throw roots off of different places. We call it adventitious rooting. So there's a lot of advantages, and and also Sandriana, death sentence for fragrance. You do not get any fragrance with Vanda Sandriana. So a lot of people, so they're great. I think they have a place in anybody's collection, but if you only get those plants, then you're gonna have a very constricted view of what a Vanda is, and it may be a turnoff for a lot of people, right? Like we were discussing your girlfriend, like, you know, she does, she has some Vandas, but she has to board them during the winter because like it's too much of a challenge. Well, what if there was like a miniaturized Vanda, right? That was like a little more robust and bloomed more frequently. So, you know, so she knew that she was going to get some payoff, right? Then she might keep it in her house the whole winter. Martin likes to say, nobody likes orchid plants; they like orchid flowers. Yeah, we want plants to flower. This is these are the raffle prizes. We did a physical for Redland. We did a physical raffle yesterday. We're going to do a digital raffle in a minute, and we're going to divide these plants, and they're going to get all those plants, and also supplies and other things that our vendors generously donated.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't mention in our intro here is Bart, this guy right here,
and my wife,
the mastermind behind
yes,
two of the most, I would say, the most incredible orchid shows.
Thank you.
And festivals here in the States, Tamiami and Redland.
Yes.
And I've been lucky enough to go to Tamiami earlier this year, and
That's
now
so
Redland. And what an amazing experience. If anyone has the opportunity to make their way down to Miami, they should go, because it is an orchid lover's candy store for anything you possibly could want when it comes to plants. Orchids I've never seen before. I mean, incredible hybrids and new lines of orchids.
Exactly.
And speaking of new lines of orchids, we're going to talk about some here today with Bart. But anyway, amazing place. So congrats on another great show, Bart, and also thank you for all you do to bring these amazing shows here to the States too. It's awesome.
We really appreciate that, and We appreciate everyone who comes to these shows because it encourages, basically, what makes our shows different are the number of vendors, number of international vendors, and that takes a lot of work to do, right, frankly. Not just on our part, but also on these international growers. And so they're making a humongous investment, a leap of faith with us. We feel a tremendous responsibility to make sure that they do well. But that's where folks like you watching this video come in, right? You come and you see something that's interesting and unique and cool, and you buy it, and that supports those international growers to go back home and say, okay, like, man, Americans really love like fragment vidium covacii. We're gonna make more of those, like make more, so that kind of stuff is really, really important. But here we are in Motes Orchids.
Bart, over here, I wanted to stop because you have several beautiful varieties here. Can you talk a little bit about they're all so diverse?
Well, these are
from
actually
these tiny flowers to just like beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Well, I feel this may sound a little defensive, but all of these guys were no-goes for the show, right? They're here because we felt like they were too open, right? Like you can see most of them don't have buds, or they may have had like this guy, beautiful flower, but we've got some markings here that we were like a little bit unsure about. So it didn't make it to the show, and that's why you're seeing it today.
They are still beautiful though. The flowers are incredible.
but after that defensive caveat, what was the question again?
No, I was gonna say, what are some of these the breeding you have here? Because everything's so unique. I mean, like I said, you have I don't think I've seen Vanda flowers so tiny. These are wonderful.
Like
I said, a lot of my viewers are growing in the home.
Right, absolutely.
And so
I want to see if we have that guy there. Is this looks like a flabellata hybrid of some type, right? Because you can see that big funky lip in the tail. There. A lot of these guys are tessellata hybrids. This is one of those cute insignis hybrids that we were talking about. And this is totally mislabeled. This is actually so this is something that happens more often than we would like, which is at some point there's a mix-up, and it usually involves transposed numbers. Like, so this one should be 2678, and it's marked down as 2764. Luckily, it's really distinctive, and so I know that it's a Motes multiverse, which is the one I was telling you is like one of my total personal favorites.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
And I love the tessellata. These are stunning, and this is absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. Gosh. So these guys, so here's an interesting thing. These hybridization, right? These guys are pod siblings. These two plants we're looking at here, they're both Motes multiverse. And you can see one of them went like more in the, perplexa kind of smaller flower range. And this guy just got the massive insignis lip. It got a double dose of the massive insignis lip. Huh. So,
so cool.
Yeah, but that's what you get when you do hybrids. It's one of the reasons that we're keen to do mirror clones for the super dark Vandas, because we know people want the darkness, and you can't be like, well, there's a 35% chance that this is going to be dark. They'll be unhappy.
Right.
Wow. This is kind of interesting. This is one of the dark Vandas, but it doesn't open. The flowers don't open. So yeah, it's kind of bummer. And here's the man himself, Dr. Motes, my father.
Hello there,
Martin
sir.
Motes.
How are you, Martin?
This is Brian.
He's
got a popular YouTube channel, and we're doing a little bit of shooting here.
I've been growing orchids, man and boy, for I'm afraid it's 70 years now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Martin just turned 80, so there you go.
So I've written the book that's a primer on growing orchids in Florida, based on that 70 years of experience. So
and also the Vanda monograph, which is if you were looking for a coffee table type book, that's a really good.
Well,
one.
It's the definitive word scientifically on the genus.
Also, if you're into that science nonsense, it's crammed full of that. Right. But also pretty pictures.
Exactly. Describe some new species in it.
Wow.
Which is a little touch of immortality, because the botanist name goes with the species for all eternity. So.
That's right.
One of them is a personal favorite of mine, Vanda Bartholomewi.
Why is that?
What? How'd that happen?
there's a Korean eye too.
There's a Korean eye, yeah, for my wife.
For your wife.
And
yeah.
Mary
Amazing.
Eye for my
Yeah.
wife,
Yes.
and an Alice Eye for my daughters.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to work with just now. Now we just have the grandkids left and my
That's
daughters.
amazing.
So.
Oh, I
Good luck
love
on
that.
Yeah.
Well, Martin, thank you for all you do. Because I mean, you can just in the walk around that I've done so far, and I know my viewers are going to check it out here soon. The expertise that you bring to Vandas and Vanda growing is totally appreciated by folks in the field. I am by no means a representation of everybody in the orchid field, but for myself and I know many people, we thank you for all you're doing. And
Well,
you do.
Brian,
Thank
these
you.
are Florida-born, Florida-bred, and they're different lines of breeding that are better adapted to Florida and also better adapted to northern greenhouses. We have used a lot of species that have introduced a lot of real vigor in both growth, and some of these plants flower 5, 6, 7 times a year. So
That's amazing.
It really is quite interesting, and of course we're working on improving the black ones.
That's right.
To make them bigger and fuller and on longer stems. So that's all
awesome.
coming along,
Pretty cool.
and we're in the F3 generation of those now. So
Wow.
and we finally have. You're going to be looking at the lab later. We finally have a really competent lab technician who's getting these things into tissue culture, and they'll soon become available to everybody.
Oh my
She's more than
gosh.
just a technician. That's why we call her our lead scientist, because
Yeah.
she's doing our whole maricloning program, and we made a lot of progress, which will eventually be of interest to the whole orchid world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we have been selecting both species and hybrids here
Yeah.
at Motes Orchids for the last half century, and we have literally hundreds of plants that we would hate to see lost.
Yes.
And now we'll be able to reproduce them probably in small batches, but enough so that they probably will never become extinguished.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah, exactly. But also, one of the cool things that this maricloning project will allow is we're going to be pumping out the material that's going to allow a new generation of Vanda breeders to come along and continue this work, which is kind of cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh no. Hopefully there will never be failing succession of people that are working on Vandas, and that we're going to be able to provide them with some really basic material.
That's great. Well,
And
that's my
also-
goal is to hopefully bring your knowledge, obviously a beautiful place like this and the plants that you're growing, help a new generation of orchid growers come to be from the knowledge that they can glean and the inspiration that they can have from seeing amazing places and learning from people like you.
We built this business ex nihilo, and literally from nothing, and doing the lab work ourselves, and producing, orchids should be the way that socialism works. You take human resources and material resources, and you put them together, and you increase value.
Right.
That's what happens. I mean, these things grow from the tiniest little piece of tissue or the tiniest little piece of seed, and and with the human resources and material resources, they become something very valuable.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really
true.
good point, and there's a couple ways in which we are also encouraging that. One is there's the Bart Motes Breeder Award from the AOS, which we're funding, and that goes to the person who bred a award of distinction or award of quality, right, on an annual
Wonderful.
basis.
That's awesome. I love
and
that.
There's a cash prize associated with it.
That's so great.
So it's not just warm fuzzies.
We're trying to build it up so that it becomes the most substantial of the AOS.
That's
awards
awesome.
In terms of the monetary reward.
Wow.
And if that encourages, even one breeder to breed a few more
that'd be pretty
hybrids that are worthy of it, then that's great.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
The other thing that we've been involved with, Martin, is the technical advisor for the Million Orchid Project here in
nice.
Fairchild. And Fairchild's someplace that you got to go to and check out.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
and Jason Downing and Bruce Greer and all those guys do incredible work.
Yeah.
But one component of it that they've been very smart about is, and with Martin's encouragement, is getting a bunch of is middle school kids, right, or high school kids.
High school kids mostly, but middle school too. And the last number that I heard, which was 2 or 3 years ago, was about 140 schools.
Wow, that's amazing.
Doing lab work,
Doing
propagating plants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We have a friend who is a well-renowned architect. He's got
Built
some
this building.
Built this building, built buildings that are on the National Register of Significant Things. Well, you know, we got him involved, and he teaches design build at the University of Miami. So the Dade County Schools had donated a school bus, and I'm there with the people at Fairchild, and they're saying, "Oh, gee, we can get this bus, but we'll have to get a grant to, you know, put it together." And I said, "No, you don't. You find the money and put it together, and I've got the man who can do it for you, James Adamson." And
so that's how the STEM lab was created.
That's how the STEM lab was created.
Yeah.
And, you know, they realized that it was going to be a coup, and they found the money. And subsequent to that, they have gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants.
That's
So
awesome.
if you build it, they will come. Yeah.
I love that. That's wonderful. Oh, I love inspiring the new generation. I was a little kid when I was about 9.
Yeah.
I had poison dart frogs, and naturally, with poison dart frogs, building natural terrariums, you know, you start to want interesting plants that grow in there, and so you look at some that might grow a little bit warmer or humid, like bulbophyllum or whatnot. And that's kind of how my interest started when I was a 9-year-old, and so now here I am, you know, many years later. Well, thank you, Martin, for all you do. I'll shake your hand. I have my camera. That's right.
These are Myrmecrophilas, and you can see why they're not exactly suited, for the most part, for inside growing. But they're fantastic plants, and a lot of them come from the Caribbean. People love them there. And one of the things I love about their growth pattern is kind of like spready, you know?
Yeah.
And whereas Vandas are kind of like dum, dum, dum.
Right.
So let's see. We recently cleaned up this area a little bit, believe it or not. This is the permanent collection.
Oh, wow.
And so you'll be able to see a
look
lot
at
of
these over here, even when these, oh, wow. What beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. This is Motes Foxy Lady. Sorry, Motes Hot Mama. It's a Foxy Lady hybrid. And I tell everyone I named it after my wife, which is absolutely true.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Hot Mama.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Let's see if there we go. Here's a better view.
So, yeah, one of the things that I would say, if we have a lot, we don't, our nursery looks a little bit different than a lot of people's nurseries, because this is all breeding material, right? So these plants, I've seen sometimes, most people are really nice, but sometimes you see some ignorant comments like, "Oh, it's like a mess." Well, yeah, I mean, of course it's a mess. It's kind of like comparing a Nordstrom's to the Chanel bag factory, right? Yeah, it's gonna look like a mess. It doesn't mean it's not good quality stuff going on there, right? So that's kind of the distinction that we make. This is a really cool Vanda, and this is kind of an interesting story. We've named this Vanda Lucia Isabella Motes for my younger daughter, but it was previously known as Vanda Ambrosian Discovery. And why is that? 2 reasons. One, it was bred at the same time. It was Vanda tricolor variety Suaves crossed with Vanda insignis, and the same time that we made this hybrid, a really great Vanda grower and breeder from Singapore, Dr. Emrys Chu, made the same hybrid, and he registered his first. So his name is the name. But then, he used Vanda tricolor, and at the time, Vanda tricolor variety insignis was considered a subspecies of Vanda tricolor, but it subsequently has been reclassified as Vanda suaves. So now it's Vanda suaves. This means this was at that time an unregistered hybrid. Right? 'Cause it had a different actual parent. So we named it for her, and it's really a really cool primary hybrid. As you can see, it's got these lovely markings and that big insignis lip, and it should be fragrant. I'm gonna stick my schnoz in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, nice. That's a very interesting fragrance too.
Yeah. This is one that we don't have very many of them anymore, but there's some hybrids that we have a limited amount of space and resources, but we've been thinking about it more with the lab, and now we're going to start selling like baggies and flasks and stuff like that. And the hope is, well, one of the ones I'm very passionate about is Vanda luzonica. I'll talk about that in a moment. But even with like non-endangered stuff, we feel like we can sell these plants at this smaller size and let other people grow them on. Because even though they don't, maybe not, they're beautiful things, right? And they should be out there in the world. We just don't have space to grow them ourselves. And so it's not really about like, oh, how much money can we make off this plant? It's just like, this plant should survive in the world. So if somebody else wants to grow it, if they want to grow it for their own enjoyment, right? Buy it from us for a cheap price, grow it on for their own enjoyment, grow it on and add value and sell it on eBay or Palm Street or where, whatever. That's all good, right? Because in the aggregate, more interesting Vandas being out there is good for all of us, right? At least if you care about that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
This is beautiful. Wow.
So,
And this one up here is also pretty too.
which one's that?
Bart, this guy. Wow, look at that.
Oh, that's another primary hybrid, but two completely different parents. That's Vanda Greg Scott. Another naming thing. We came up with this hybrid, but somebody else did it at the same time. They registered it as Vanda Greg Scott. And it's Merrili crossed with Tessellata. We've done that 4 different ways. We've done the Tessellata x Merrili. So botanically, regardless of which is the pod parent and which is the pollen parent, it's the same. But for us, like you'll see that there's different characteristics that the pod parent usually has more influence morphologically on the outcome, both in terms of the plant and usually the flower structure. So we've seen differences there, but that's one of my personal favorites because Tessellata and Merrili are both super fragrant. They're both pretty dark. We get ones like out of this breeding that are just as dark as what other people are calling dark Vandas.
Wow.
And so that's pretty cool. And those have been available. Those are still available on our website. We still have some of those on our website.
And there's so many amazing flowers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, you're going to go nuts. This is interesting. This is Vanda Motes Mahogany, and it's a half sibling of the one you just checked out, right?
Wow.
So it's Merrili crossed with Vanda Liovilii. And Liovilii is a true miniature. It's like it blooms on 2-inch plants. So that's why you get the smaller plants, smaller flowers, but many more flowers. See that long spike? That's probably why it's here in this permanent collection section.
Oh yeah.
There's a long spike. My dad is a big sucker for precociousness.
This is beautiful too. Here, Bart, before I move on a little bit.
This
This is beautiful, this one.
Oh, I think that might be.
That's gorgeous.
That is one of your closer to traditional Vanda sandriana. I believe that's a Miami Lou, which is named for my incredibly smart, talented, cool elder daughter.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And she's very proud of it. This is if you were an orchid person who wants to get your kids into orchids, use one weird trick of naming orchids for them. So they're like, "Where's my orchid? Where's my orchid?" And then they're hooked. They don't even realize what's happening. So, and this is this is not a Vanda technically. It's a Vandaceous species, but it's Arides Julietiana.
Wow.
And you can see we decided to Mariclone some of these guys too because we just think people will love them, and it's another thing we'll sell in flasks and we think will be very commercially viable for a lot of other people. And that one up there is, I believe that's a Vanda Evelyn Greer or possibly Vanda Motes Wise Women. One of my personal favorites. We named it Motes. We named the Motes Wise Women because it was Evelyn Greer, who's the friend of the family and former mayor of Pinecrest, and my mom, Mary Motes. So they're both wise women.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah. We had a discount on it for International Women's Day a few years ago. We don't have enough of them to do that now. That's one of our dark ones up there. Not the best because the flowers are not as big as we want to get them, but the color's there. So we want to get the whole package.
Oh my gosh, look at these.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those are pretty cool. That's a Motes Harbinger there to the left. And I think that's a Pamela Greer or possibly a Motes Knockout. Yeah, that's a... Oh no, it's a Karina Motes. Okay, that's a Karina Motes there.
This dark one right here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then the tessellated one to the left is a Harbinger.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yep. I think we'll have some Harbingers for sale in in Black November. We used to do Black Friday, right? But then because it gets cold up north, it was like it's too late to ship, right? And then we had like all these orders that were being held until like February or March. And man, like I learned more about weather doing this than I ever thought I would know. Like about like, oh wow, like it doesn't really warm up in Colorado until like June. Like this is nuts.
Wow,
you know?
Look at these flowers. I just want to highlight some of these words.
Yeah, please,
oh,
please,
there it
please.
is. Look at all these. Look at this here. You even got one down here. This is cute.
Yeah, so that's like a more of a standard tessellata. Like that's like kind of the jungle tessellata.
Wow.
And then let me show you one of our improved tessellatas for contrast.
Awesome.
This is Vanda violeta.
Vanda violeta. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Look at this guy. That's beautiful. Wow.
So this is this is botanically exactly the same as the plant you just saw, but you have a hard time convincing people that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, Vanda tessellata. This is Vanda tessellata Mary Motes FCC crossed to Vanda tessellata Alice Motes AM, and it's super fragrant. You can smell it.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, yeah. That's an awesome fragrance.
Yeah, no, right. And you
That
can
is
see, like, this is what we're talking about, right? So, there actually is a little bit of root disease down here, right? Now, if this was like a plant that only had all of its roots based down here, that would be really problematic. But we can just kind of chop it off, and look, you see it's got all these other totally viable roots up here. So that's what we love about tessellata. And look, and see the frequency of the blooming, right? So it's blooming, like, so it's bloomed here, here, here,
Wow,
here,
yeah.
here, 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 and you see
Oh my gosh.
it's blooming here. It bloomed here. You see it's in bloom right now, right? Mm-hmm. Look at that. Next flower spike coming.
Oh my gosh, already?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's why we love the tessellatas.
Yeah, that blooms. Wow. And you were
Oh,
saying
and in fact,
that,
there's another flower spike coming here.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh wow, look at that.
Now you have to be careful. Sometimes these plants will actually bloom themselves to death. They can only have one flower spike per leaf axil. So there's kind of like a self-regulating governing thing going on there. But if they really go nuts, like sometimes they'll bloom out of the crown, which is called terminal spike, and then the plant won't grow anymore from the apical from the top. But they'll often throw kikis at that point.
And this is another violeta here?
Sorry, let's take a look. Yes, it is. That's a violeta.
Beautiful.
Not the best form on that one. If you compare it to this guy, you'll see this guy has got.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit better form, fuller flowers. We like that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And this is another primary hybrid. This is Vandas cerulean, which is quite precocious itself. It's the most precocious large flowered Vanda, crossed to Vanda tessellata. And again, you can see the incredible number of flower spikes, the nice roots, you know, all that stuff. So,
Oh wow, look at that. Wow, that is like almost a near true white with
Yes.
just a little bit of that yellow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is Motes alabaster crossed to Vanda cerulean alba.
Wow.
So it would be, it's like basically like first cousin of the other one, or half, or I don't know. I don't even know. Like it doesn't quite track to to animals. So I'm having a hard time explaining.
And these
it.
are beautiful here too. Look at how
That's
dark.
another violeta, I think. Let's see. Oh no, it's not. I totally lied. This one is. This is the violeta hybrid. It's crossed Vanda violeta X Bruce's Evelyn. So that's the Evelyn Greer hybrid. And then
Oh my gosh.
let's take a quick, now please watch your step. So again, I know you're focused on the camera and everything. More Vanda insignis over here.
Oh, yeah,
All
look
these,
at-
this whole
these
line
are
of Vanda
beautiful.
insignis. They're all in bloom. We actually have a special on them right now on our website. I'll probably continue. I was going to tell you about Black November, right?
Yes,
So this is not just a sales pitch, but there's kind of a funny story behind it, which is that we wanted to do Black November, right? But then we realized that by starting so late, like then we were having to ship into December. We'd have like hundreds of orders. What are we going to do? So now we're doing Black November. We start actually right before November. We have our biggest deals of the year blah, 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 and lots of fun stuff. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested.
Definitely. Wow. Now, Bart, I want to talk about these right here.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Because I know there are some, if you went to Tamiami,
yes,
or if you went to Redland, some folks I'm sure know about this, but you guys are in the process of developing what they're calling a Black Vanda.
Yes.
And I know you have some of those. You said these are the sort of the early...
some of these,
the F3,
there's multiple generations of these guys, and I mean, listen, there's some sticklers who will be like, well, that's just purple, and to that I say, what color is this? And if that color is purple, then what color is this? And we can be pedantic about it and be like, well, it's actually, there's no real black in it. No, okay, they're pretty much black. So anyway, that's what we're shooting for.
Wow.
We've bloomed out 3 generations of these guys, and we have several more generations coming. So we know we get the we're getting some results that we know people really like, but there's a few things we want to do better, and we're working on putting miraclones into production so that we can sell these plants to people at affordable prices as opposed to nosebleed prices. Wait, that's wrong. The nosebleeds are cheap. You know what I mean? Like I always get confused by that because I'm like, well, a nosebleed is like I'm getting punched in the nose. I don't know. This is coming from Florida, right? We're everything height of things related is very abstract to us. But anyway, we want to have them be affordable for people, and we're going to sell some of the initial generations, which come from seed. Now, again, I've talked a few times about caveats, right? And I want to have truth in advertising. What we've discovered in this process is the darkness is not 100% consistent. So, and we struggle with that because we're like, okay, we're going to sell some plants, and we know they want a really dark plant, but they might end up with just a really nice purple, right? And how are people going to feel about that? So I think what we're going to do for Black November, if we do end up starting to sell those plants for Black November, is we're going to sell them in packages of 3 or 5, and that'll give people a better chance to get the dark plant that they want. Nice. They're not going to be super duper cheap, but they're not going to be astronomically expensive. And then I'm hoping we also will have an announcement vis-a-vis Miraclones and pre-ordering Miraclones as well. Nice. And we first came across these. Martin made a few crosses about 15 years ago, and some of them came out remarkably dark. And we were like, okay, this is worth looking into. And so we started messing around with them. We held all those plants. We bloomed all of them out. And as I alluded to, what we discovered is that the darkness is pretty recessive. So we started figuring out okay, how can we get higher rates of return on this? And we have now, I think, 100 something different hybrids, so different crosses. So we've put 100 different variations of these type of plants into bottles, and we've been blooming them out for the last 10 years. And we've got all kinds of stuff over here. I mean, you can kind of see down here. Wow. If you look through here, some of them are really, really, really dark, and some of them are kind of dark. And see if I can move this out of your way. Yeah. Wow. And then you see that one over there is pretty dark.
Oh my gosh.
But so cool. that's basically the story. It's been, and then we built this. We decided we needed to get a better lab. We have a lab here that we've had for a long time, for decades, but it's to do miracloning, you need to go up kind of one level more in terms of sterility, sophistication of equipment, and so on and so forth. And so we built a new lab, which we're going to tour in a moment.
Awesome.
And and that that's going to be where all these guys are being made, and where they will continue to be made, and we're really excited about that. I'm also excited not just about the dark Vandas, but Vanda luzonica, for example. Some other Vanda luzonica you guys may not know is critically endangered or in the wild, and also Vanda lombacensis. There's orchids which have become the it girl of the moment, and then everybody wants them, which creates pressure on the native population and poaching. And we really want to combat that with Vanda luzonica in particular. If we're successful with what we're doing, we got some pods, and we've been selling them. If we're successful with that, we want to sell the flasks to people and the baggies very inexpensively, just so they get out there. And like I said before, it doesn't matter what people do with them. People could buy them purely intending to resell them and not care anything about Vanda lusanica, but that will have a positive effect on the marketplace because there will be less pressure on the native population and people will be getting authentic lusanicas. There's another issue with Vanda lusanica. I'm going to bore your viewers to death, but whenever a plant becomes super desirable, there are a lot of perverse pressures that get placed on the market. One is obviously the poaching. Another is the privileging of species over hybrids. But paradoxically, people want the best version of the species. That best version of the species often turns out to be a disguised hybrid. For example, with Vanda lusanica, people talk about their wonderful Vanda lusanica with a fragrance. Well, if it has a fragrance, it is per se a hybrid because lusanicas do not have a fragrance. So there's issues like that. And, and that has a lot of negative downstream consequences because they'll get into collections mislabeled. They'll maybe be even involved in breeding programs mislabeled. And we want to avoid that if possible. So by producing and disseminating the true versions of these things, we're going to do a service for the orchid community.
Nice. I
love
love
that. You guys can
that.
be part of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And wow, so that I love that you guys are also paying attention to sort of these natural species that are also threatened in the wild, and because that's very important. And you're right, to be able to have them. And also, I was out in the Fakahatchee and in the Everglades, and you see these plants in the wild, and there's really nothing like it. But it's sad that deforestation and poaching of a lot of these native orchids, including Vanda labacensis, and to be able to have them at least in the hobby is helpful, just for generations, so that we can, continue to have these species. So cool. So you have some other stuff here that I wanted to highlight. One over here that I think is beautiful.
Oh, okay.
I really like this, this little plant right here.
This guy is one of our Thai friends hybrids, and it is Vanda lamellata, X Noi Blue, X Rancostylis Celestis Blue, and I'm not sure in what order that is. That's there's a lot of really cool stuff that the Thais are doing now. This is one of them, what's not to like? You get a lot of flowers in the stem, and the color pattern. I'm a sucker for that masking, right? Like that bifurcated masking. So yeah, it's a good hybrid, and so we're gonna do some breeding with it too.
That's cool. And it's the same with this over here. Is this also
this one? No, this is Vanda Motes Arabesque. This is one of ours. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
And I love. I think my parents named it Arabesque because it has that kind of like, pintellated pattern, right? And it's got a really cool picotee on it and stuff like that. It's a very heavily Denisoniana hybrid.
Beautiful. So cool.
These are seedlings. This is the next stage after orchids come out of the flask. And
wow.
Then they eventually will. It's so
this
many,
is amazing.
So
Yeah.
many plants.
So cool.
Yeah. And then over here is kind of my dad's toy orchid section, right? Like these are not commercially viable plants for us, but my dad loves them. So
nice.
He's got like some cool Phalaenopsis dendrobium that we got from. He had a seed pod from Indonesia. It was sent to us, and dendrobiums, Myrmecophilas. Do sell some Myrmecophilas, but they're kind of a sideline. But let's go and look at the next stage.
That'd be great.
Here, and then we'll go to the lab. Okay, just watch your step here. There's a pipe, and when we were walking out here earlier, I saw a flower down here. I think I see a flower down here, which I was really excited about. Okay, so watch your hips on these. This is the hip grabbers over here. But let's see if there's actually a plant down here, or if it's
this is
something
amazing
else,
Bart.
flower. Yeah. So this is kind of the next stage. You'll see they go in these trays after they graduate from there, and then these are very overgrown plants that need to be transplanted, but we're all perpetually behind. So we're going to work on that this week. And yes, you are a little flower.
Wow, look at that.
So
oh my gosh.
This is,
Wow.
this is one of our little projects. Like we want to kind of miniaturize these dark
That little
pandas.
flower.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Right?
Wow. Yeah, Cassidy, my girlfriend Cassidy she likes the dark and moody. So
Dark
she'd
and
be
moody.
in heaven here.
I love it. So you can see
Yeah,
this
look
is
at
the
the
plant
roots
that this
coming.
is growing up. And not for nothing, but this is the 4th flower spike on this plant, I think. Let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, there you go.
Now from flask to this size, about how many years is that? I know it's probably dependent
It's
on
like,
plant,
yeah.
but for this guy in
Well,
particular.
yeah, so the size, I mean, is when you talk about maturity to blooming, that's very species ancestry dependent. But when you're talking about size, you can kind of judge based on that. So these guys, and this series is a 29 series. So I'm going to say that came out of flask 3 years ago.
Wow. 3
Yeah.
years. That's amazing.
Yeah. Did you smell it? It should be fragrant.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it does. It has like a very sweet fragrance. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
that's a delicious fragrance. Wow, it's like candy.
There you go.
That's awesome.
2946. Let's look that guy up.
Look at that flower.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of those guys.
I have viewers that are growing indoors. Is it possible to grow a Vanda indoors?
Yeah.
What are the considerations?
Yeah,
Common
absolutely.
misconceptions?
No, totally. Well, yeah, no, it is totally possible. And we have a lot of, I would say that we get, the majority of our orders come from California, Texas, Arizona, Florida, right? As you would think, like, okay, these are like bright, hot places, right? But we have plenty of growers that, like in Minnesota and Michigan, other places you would not expect, Wisconsin, you would not expect people to grow. So is it possible? Yes. Let's start with the misconceptions. They're not exactly misconceptions, right? They're incomplete information. So it's not that people are dumb or that they don't get it or anything like that. What happens is that they want to experiment with Vandas. They see the flower and they love it. They buy a plant that is not ideal for their circumstances. It's kind of like, so my family, we love Brazilian Mastiffs. We had a lot of Brazilian Mastiffs for many years. Awesome dogs. I wanted to get a Brazilian Mastiff, and my wife was like, we live in an 1,800 square foot house. Like, this is not going to work, right? So you have to, but that's what a lot of people are doing. They're seeing this big plant, and they're like, oh my God, I love it. I'm going to take it home, and it's going to be amazing. And then they don't get a lot of bang for their buck. So you're getting this plant that's pretty big. It had a beautiful flower, but it wasn't designed to bloom frequently. It wasn't designed to be precocious. It was grown in Thailand, and they're some of the best growers in the world. And I hope nobody takes this the wrong way. They have an entirely different set of considerations than we do. Land is very cheap there. Labor is very cheap there. So they don't mind growing a plant for 8 years, right? And then they're going to sell it to an American distributor, basically, or finisher, and that person is going to like put it up in a supermarket or someplace, and all they care is that it blooms once, and then they don't care about it after that. Again, I don't think there's any malice involved. It's just the system, the way it works. But we, because my father in particular is also a crazy orchid person, like we think like crazy orchid people, and we're like, we want something that blooms all the time and like gives us the most bang for the buck. Right. And okay, and on one of our orchids, Vanda Crystal Freeman, I had this kind of cheeky thing, which is like this plant. When you think about it, if you take a plant that's like 3 feet tall and blooms once a year, okay, that is like, in 10 years, you're going to get 10 blooms. Maybe you'll get super duper lucky, you get 20 blooms, all right? Then consider a plant that is 4 inches tall or 5 inches tall that blooms 5 times a year, okay? So first of all, you're starting with 5 times as many blooms on that one plant, but wait, there's more. That one plant, you can fit 6 plants in the space of that one humongous plant. So you're really getting like 30 times as many blooms over a 10-year period. And again, if somebody's in love with one of the standard Vandas, get it. But just don't get like a whole array of standard Vandas and be like, my Vandas don't bloom, I'm giving up on Vandas. Please don't do that. Because there are varieties of Vandas that will do very well for you. Will kind of be like the Manny Pacquiao of like, they're more punch for the weight, more punches per pound. So, but can you be successful? Yes, you can absolutely be successful. The key is to understand that that Vandas want bright light, right? Which is sometimes hard to provide in northern climates. But they can do okay without bright light. They just may not bloom as frequently. But what they really need is they need a high volume of water periodically. So a lot of people give them like a little bit of water all the time. And what that unfortunately does is sometimes it's just not sufficient volume of water, period. And sometimes it's keeping them wetter than they should be for longer. This is, for example, like, people are into water culture. Full water culture, I haven't seen full water culture work well for Vandas. I think semi-water culture can work well because the roots are in the water and then it dries out and they were dry for a period of time and they get wet again. But in general, what we want to do is we want to get them really, 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 really wet with a high volume of water and then let them dry out and then get them really, really, really wet again. And typically you want that to be a 1-day cycle. So you water them heavily in the morning, they dry out by early night, they're pretty dry in the morning, and then you water them again. And in that sense, sometimes people are really obsessed with humidity levels and stuff like that. It's actually not as important for there to be high humidity all the time. You can actually, Martin likes to say, we have a free series of videos on YouTube you can watch. In one of the videos, I remember him saying that people ask, can I grow Vandas in California? He's like, yeah, your conditions are better than our conditions. Why? Because you have more stuff under your control. Here, we can't negotiate with the humidity. The humidity is going to be high all the time, right? Which is good and bad, right? It's bad because it's conducive to a lot of fungus and bacteria. But if you're in California, you can add more water. You can always add more water. You can't take it away, right? So yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. A little bit of fertilizer. You can put them you can put orchids in your bathroom and shower if you feel like the humidity issue is important for you. Yeah, it's totally possible, and yeah, it can be done.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful because I know a lot of folks are always wondering, oh, can I grow these? I don't have a greenhouse, and it can be so tricky sometimes. And I understand, but you're 100% right. Sometimes with plants, there are also, and I don't know if this applies necessarily to Vandas, but I know for me, there are orchids that I would love to grow. Yeah. And yeah, you have to have that like space to plant ratio comparison. Like, I could have, 15 miniatures or, one bulbophyllum cubahens or
right. And you know what, man? If you've got to have that plant, like we've got a couple big Lombacensis, and sometimes I'm like, you guys are not earning your keep, and then other times I'm like, yeah, you are. Okay.
That's right. It's like they know, the plants know. It's like,
I'm telling you, man,
because they're he's questioning me.
That's what I always say. People are like, my plant hasn't moved. I'm like, listen, you got to put the fear of God into it. Move it to another location. Move it to the outside. They'll get the message.
That's right. Who's in charge?
So we had talked a little bit about our solar power. This facility, this lab is powered by solar power, which we're really excited and passionate about. We built this facility a couple years ago because we realized that if we wanted to accomplish our goals with miracloning, we were going to need a more sophisticated lab than we previously had. And I don't think it's necessary to see the old lab, but we had a good basic laminar flow hood. Now we've got a little bit more sophisticated setup, and we're going to show you that now.
Oh my gosh. Look at this. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. This is the first true orchid lab that I've ever featured on the channel, Bart. And this is amazing. Wow, look at this. Holy cow. So neat. Cool, so these are all the new, sort of your new, what you've got in the works, or what you're trying to maintain, like those labocans, some of those species.
These are all plants that were propagated here at the nursery. with the exception of Luzonica, which we got a pod from a very, very nice man, Emil Yap, in the Philippines, who's a great conservationist there. But with that little caveat, all these other plants are ones that we propagated here, we bred here, and now they're in these little bottles. And this is the stage, they're going to go through several cycles of this. So what you'll see here is agar, right? This is a special agar mix. And the plants are getting pretty much all their nutrition from that. As you can see, there is some photosynthesis going on with the lights, but primarily they're getting their nutrition from the highly nutrient-rich agar. And Maria can explain all this much better than I can.
Yep, so this is our lab here where we propagate all the plants that you see out in the greenhouse. We put them all on a nutrient gel auger in order to grow. They start off as tiny little seedlings, and they slowly kind of grow up. So this is maybe a couple of months old. Wow. And then as they progress, they start to leaf out. Once they get about halfway up the bottle or a little taller, we go ahead and take them outside, and that's when they end up going in those trays.
Nice.
So in this part is completely sterile, and we make sure to keep everything really clean in here where the plants can kind of have the best chance at surviving and not have to compete with any outside, contaminants.
Wow, that is so cool. Oh my gosh. So they start, so this is, so is it go by sort of my maturity? So these are the youngest?
So in this lab, we organize it by the month that they were last transferred, because they will go through 3 to 4 transfer cycles from seeds into the next level until they reach the full grown stage. So everything is color coded by month, and that way we know, okay, now we really need this month to get to the silver bottles or whatever we're looking at. So
oh my gosh, this is so cool. That is awesome. Wow, look at all the amazing little plants coming.
There's probably hundreds of thousands of plants in this room alone.
Wow, that's cool. So now where does the process sort of begin? What does that look like? So when I guess you get a seed pod, and then sort of what's the next step, and how do we get to all of these amazing flasks full of plants?
So we start with a seed pod that comes out of the greenhouse. Ideally, it's still green. If it's dry and already dehisced, we have a kind of a little bit of a different process. But if we have a green pod, we will clean it manually in our sinks over here, and then we will usually flame it with put ethanol on it and flame it, and that just kind of sterilizes the entire outside, but it's not so hot that it damages the seeds inside, and so that gives us a nice sterile environment to work with. We bring it into our sterile hood, which is in the other room. I'd be happy to show you.
That'd be great.
And we I did not clean up in here, sorry. You can come on in. Yeah, perfect. And this is our sterile workspace. So in here, we would work in this hood. Anywhere 4 inches inside of it is considered a sterile working field. I'm not very clean right now, so I'm not going to stick my hands in here. But we would then open that pod, and we would start taking small sections of it and putting it in an empty container just like this one. For each pod, depending on its size, we get anywhere between 3 and 8 flasks full. And those flasks will then multiply into additional flasks. So for every 1 flask that we start with, if the seed is very viable and everything looks good, we can get up to 10, 20 mature flasks of plants, right? So because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of seeds in those pods. So as long as everything is, working really well and we don't have contamination from 1 pod, we can get tens of thousands of plants coming out of it. This is our cloning project here. So, so I keep it separate as a separate item, but we are also doing our own mirror cloning here and trying to work on non-destructive methods, so able to keep the mother plant alive while still mirror cloning. That is more of the mirror cloning project. We're always just trying to optimize our methods. So we also have this temporary immersion bioreactor as well. And so we kind of try different, when one method is working, we try to optimize with other forms of of tissue culture. So classic gel versus temporary immersion versus full immersion.
Wow, that's great. So you all are just you're trying all different kinds of methodologies.
Absolutely.
To see which one works most efficiently.
It's amazing. We have all this state-of-the-art equipment that we can really kind of try everything.
So I don't know if you could talk a little bit about your backgrounds or how you came to be, in this space and what you studied and what intrigued you about orchids.
Yeah, absolutely. I started out at University of Florida, just down the street from here. There's a satellite campus down there called Tropical Research and Education Center. I started out in a molecular biology and genetics and breeding lab there, and we were building that lab from the ground up. So I had actually never done tissue culture before, and that was about 10 years ago. I learned how to do tissue culture. I learned about protocol development. And I was there for about 6 years working with tropical plants and also a lot with vanilla, so my first orchid experience.
Nice.
And I did a ton of work with vanilla there. And then I moved on to USDA a couple of years ago and did some work there as well, some orchid work and some more tropical fruit and tropical ornamental work, specifically with tissue culture, but also a lot with molecular genetics and breeding. And it's nice to have that full well-rounded understanding of how it all works, because it really does help you kind of target these tricky issues that we get with cloning and mirror-cloning and that sort of thing, where you're really, protocol development is kind of figuring it out as you go along. So, and then Motes reached out to me about a year ago with their mirror-cloning project, asking if I would be interested in working with them, and I love a challenge, so I was very interested, and we started working together, and now I'm here full-time.
Wow, that's awesome. So cool. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for showing us this incredible lab. I mean, it is amazing. All right, everybody, that's going to conclude our tour of Motes Orchids. Bart, thank you so much for giving an amazing, amazing tour of the lab, of the nursery, of some of the new plants that you have about to be available, some of the plants that you guys have grown for many, many years. Yeah. And I am so thankful to be here. Thank you for all that you do. And I am excited for my viewers to watch, because I think they're going to learn so much. I hope that you already have. So thank you, Bart. Thank you, Motes Orchids. Thank you for watching. I'm Brian from Orchids by Brian. That's Bart Motes from Motes Orchids. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.